January meeting of the Ann Arbor Independent Community Police Oversight Commission to order. And I'm going to ask Ms. Cummings to please call the roll.
Okay. Councilmember Song? Here. Commissioner Hoffman?
Here.
Commissioner Billups?
Here.
Chair Carter?
Here.
Commissioner Milgram? Commissioner Pipkin? Here. Councilmember Harrison? Commissioner Maribon?
Here.
Commissioner Green?
Present.
Commissioner Haynes? Commissioner Olaikin? Commissioner Francis?
Thank you. And I do want to thank everybody. I want to say Happy New Year, first of all. It's the first meeting of the year. And thank everybody for coming out. We're going to try and get through this meeting because they tell me it's getting, the weather's getting worse out there. And we want everybody to travel safe. Thank you. Thank you.
If you also please turn on your mics when you speak, CTN will be able to pick us up.
Thank you. Do I need to say Happy New Year again, or you got that?
You can.
We'll just move on. Okay, so I want to, I've got a lot here, and I'm trying to think what exactly, if there's anything I want to cut out at this point.
Approval of the agenda.
All right, let's do those things. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda if you've had an opportunity to take a look at it?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion? Any additions or corrections? In that case, all in favor of approving the agenda as it is written, please,
Aye.
Aye.
thank you. And now with regard to the minutes, if you had an opportunity to look over the minutes,
We have 2 sets of minutes. There's 2 sets of minutes.
there, you have minutes from our last meeting in November, as well as minutes from the special meeting that we had in November for the new police chief. So if you've had a chance to take a look at those. And if so, if I can have a motion to approve, let's approve them both at the same time. Okay, Commissioner?
Motion to approve the minutes, please.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the minutes are approved then. We're going to move on to public comment.
Is there anyone here at this time that would like to speak for public comment? Hearing none, is there anybody online that'd like to speak for public comment? Seeing none, we have no public comment.
Thank you. Okay, I want to talk first about our annual report. We want to finish it as soon as possible after the year is over, and this will really be, I don't know of an actual written formal report that we have done yet as a commission, so this is one that we want to get going. I sent out, did anybody get a chance to look at the draft recommendations that I had sent out? And then I know Commissioner Hoffman sent out some others as well. Okay. Would you look at those? We're going to report on what we did, but we also, I think, equally as important as saying what we did is what that means. And a lot of what we are recommending comes from what we did and what we heard from the complaints that people submitted. And so we have, there's going to be a goodly number, maybe 10 or 12 recommendations that we hope will come out. We plan to have it printed and formal. We have someone in the city who's going to help us actually set it up. I talked to Ms. Cummings today, and for instance, when we reference like Professor Karpiak's report, we want to have a link in the report so anyone reading our report can go to that report. And there are a couple of those. Also the traffic ordinance that was passed last year. We want people to be able to link up to those documents. So for the next meeting, which is February, please take a look, and maybe I'll send them out again as a draft. Is that a good idea?
Please.
If I put them all in one document and send them out again. And if you have, one thing that I had thought about, and I said in one of my one of my emails. Some of these you might not think is a recommendation. You might just think it's something that we talked about, but you don't necessarily want to make it a formal recommendation. So I would really appreciate everybody's input for the next meeting. Okay. Now, the next meeting will be our February meeting. For our March meeting, and I had talked to the outreach committee, I don't know if you all have thought about it at all, but we had our interviews for the new police chief, and I'd like to report that the person that our group supported the most and put as our number one was selected for the police chief. So as I am informed, there is not yet a start date. He's moving, from Arizona, is it? Somewhere warm.
Arizona.
Yeah. And so probably sometime in early February, he'll be here. So we would like to have our March meeting as another public forum. Meet the chief. And of course, there's going to be a formal swearing in that the public will be invited to. But I thought it would be nice to have something also informal, and people can feel free to come and ask questions and so forth. So I don't know if you all have a report, if you've looked at that at all.
Well, yeah, I thought Peace Neighborhood Center was wonderful for the last one. I don't know if we could do it there. I know you said you wanted a different venue to host that.
Well, I only said different because I didn't want to impose on Commissioner Billups one more time.
Okay.
But I thought it was a great venue as well.
Oh,
We have a date in March?
No. Well, our March
March
meeting date.
26th.
March 26th. Just let me just double check on my agency calendar real quick and see. Yeah. Oh, that's possible. That's spring break. We won't have any evening. It's possible. I just need to clarify something with my coworkers.
Okay.
But that's very possible to do it there.
Excellent. Excellent. So let's pencil that in for our March meeting for Meet the Chief, and we'll try to get the word out so that the public knows that that's coming. An update, there was a question, I think, from Commissioner Pipkins about where we are in the unarmed response. And there was an article the other day in the Ann Arbor News. Apparently, there was only one response to the last request for proposals, and so they've asked the city administrator to do a second request for proposals by March 1st, I believe, to get that out.
Earlier, yeah, or do you want me to?
Yes, please,
All of it?
please.
Okay. So that's correct. There was one RFP response to actually fulfilling what the city's asking for the unarmed crisis response program. It went under review by the city administrator's office and by our attorneys. And the city declined to engage in the RFP. So that doesn't mean that the program has been canceled. I think there's a lot of information online saying that the city has canceled the program. That isn't the case because it's budgeted for. There's already, there was a resolution to put this forward 2 years ago. It's budgeted with general fund money. It's budgeted with ARPA relief money. So we did all the political work. We did all the political work to make sure that this is happening, but at this point, it had to transition to internal staff to actually put it in place. I know there was a lot of criticism as to how it was decided to not engage with the RFP, the group Care-Based Safety who applied to implement the program, but electeds cannot intervene in the RFP process. We can't tell our city administrator, who's the executive who reports to us, to choose certain applicants or give, additional review to certain applicants or not review. We can't intervene in that process because it shows bias, right? And that goes with any RFP, whether it's construction, whether it's any other contract with the city. But we did have some conversations on how this has been communicated in the public. I think there's confusion because I think folks are wondering if the city is losing steam or interest in this, and that's not the case. At the, not yesterday's city council meeting, but the council meeting before, I clarified that even every candidate who came to interview as our police chief came ready in support of unarmed crisis response. Not every single council member is still in support of unarmed crisis response. Our interim chiefs have been in support of unarmed crisis response. City administrator is still in support of this. So I think that message needs to be clear. We haven't lost steam, but we are trying to revisit why we only had one applicant for this. We're trying to revisit our expectations that the city has had around funding. Was it adequate enough? And is the ambition actually beyond Ann Arbor, right? Is the need and the ambition for this effort beyond what Ann Arbor can provide for? I think we budgeted over $2 million for this. And to expect a 24/7 response with that funding is expecting a lot. So other conversations that we're trying to get going is to figure out, all right, we've done the political work. The city is trying to do the bureaucratic work and trying to find out who is the right fit to actually implement this. But it might be also a good time to talk about what public safety and unarmed crisis response can look like countywide. And I bring this up because the county mental health, county mental health public safety millage is up next year for renewal, but county commissioners are thinking of actually doing a renewal this year, this November. So as we think about funding, to not just implement what we would like to see here in Ann Arbor, but to actually have that come as a 24/7 service, as it comes as maybe, something that's needed beyond Ann Arbor, then please don't just press upon Ann Arbor electeds. This is an opportunity to talk to other municipal electeds too, as they think about public safety. So not pushing off our own responsibilities here in Ann Arbor to try to get this done, but I would really hope that advocates really start connecting the dots here on not just two-year base funding, because the ARPA funding has to be spent by 2026, right? And then again, this was like a pilot project, a 2-year unarmed crisis response project. But where does that leave the community after 2 years? I mean, our issues are not going to resolve upon themselves. They're not going to disappear in 2026, right? So this would be a good opportunity to get a head start in thinking about additional long-term reoccurring funding that isn't up to us up here at every budget cycle. So I feel like there's an opportunity here to have a better conversation, especially with this millage funding, because that's dedicated funding towards public safety and mental health, and that's split here in Ann Arbor as a rebate, but it doesn't necessarily have to be used in the ways that this rebate has been used before, which was for climate response, pedestrian safety, and affordable housing. But since we have millages for all three of those efforts already, that's reoccurring funding that can come back potentially for something like unarmed crisis. So I'm asking for patience. I know it's very, very difficult because folks are really anxious, and I know folks feel like there's no time like today to actually see this happen. But if you talk to attorneys who are all about liabilities, there's nothing like liabilities to slow us down. And I will say on behalf of the city that it's not unwarranted. Their bureaucracy is cautious for good reason. And we just have to figure this out.
So I don't know if there are any other questions. That's pretty much where it stands. I can sort of see the potential. People will sue over anything, but somebody calls the police and we send a social worker and somebody gets shot and, so that, you have to think, and I can understand why these sorts of issues.
I think one thing was we were asking for 24/7, and care-based safety, given the funding that we were providing, couldn't give 24/7. So for the city, we're trying to figure out, well, how will that really work? Folks can't organize their crises along certain days and times,
Right.
So
Right.
it's a good opportunity for us to reflect on why if there are changes in the RFP that need to be made. And again, electeds can't ask for certain changes in the RFP, and I hope you understand why. We can't influence that process. But we have asked care-based safety folks to say, there's nothing to stop you from having these meetings with our city administrator and asking these questions, but I can't ask the city administrator to meet with whoever I think is important to meet with. Do you see the difference, right? I can't influence who he meets with, but there's nothing to stop folks from meeting with that office or with the attorneys.
Commissioner?
I have a question. Lynn, are you saying that because the RFP was for 24/7, that the vendor couldn't deliver that in the budget? Is that what you mean?
Given the budget, it's expensive. This is
Yeah.
a very expensive program to staff, right? And then you're asking the staff programs to develop trust, right? We've never done this before. This is different from what CMH does in the county, where CMH insists on having police when they respond, right? So,
Because
This-
9 to 5 would
yeah.
be better than nothing, right?
oh,
So,
absolutely,
right, okay.
absolutely. But, it doesn't sound like what we had budgeted for is enough for that. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions or input, Commissioner?
Yeah,
Bill?
I think that there would be something that you touched on a little bit about a county response at some point, and I think it would be a great thing to have the county actually think about, especially since the 911 system goes
To the
to a
county.
county dispatch.
Right.
To have this whole, as a total county effort. I know it takes a lot to make that happen, and it's not like it'll happen tomorrow, but I think that's something that we should be thinking about. You guys in government should be thinking about, how do we pursue that with the other governmental entities in this county to pull that kind of effort together. I think that would be
Right.
great.
Which is why I bring up the county mental health millage, because even though Ann Arbor supported that by a pretty big majority on that millage when it was first passed, that won't be the case for all the cities within the county. We know some cities in the county feel the tax base feels like they're heavier hit than other parts. So we just can't assume that this millage will be renewed. Yeah, and I know advocates who had initially have talked about the work being more county-based. We're trying what we can, in the city with the leadership that we have. And I'm thankful for Mr. Mahoney for pushing this through while he has other things on task. But it might be a good time to have other voices come on board too,
Yeah, I think it's really important to have this effort on broad to include the county, because there are other collaboratives in the county itself, whether it's the SWAT, whether it's biohazard, the fire, where different departments are contributing, and it also is going to be on the long run, to run it through to the county is going to be probably cheaper than run it on individual municipalities or governments.
I don't know. What we can do in Ann Arbor is only within Ann Arbor, unless it goes towards social service agency funding that we contribute to the county. But what we've committed to unarmed crisis response has to happen within Ann Arbor. I bring up the county because I'm just looking for ways to think about this program so it's sustainable beyond 2 years. The county has undedicated ARPA funding too, so it's not just the millage funding. They have money they still need to dedicate pretty quickly, much less spend it by 2026. Right. I feel like we're missing pieces to this conversation. We've been working together, speaking together from electeds, administration, attorneys, organizers to want this for Ann Arbor. We've stalled a bit in trying to figure out where we can actually, how we can implement this and meet everyone's expectations. But I feel like if we had someone who does something similar, either kind of help us navigate these speed bumps so that folks aren't disappointed, if we do have limited hours, what does that mean? How do we communicate that? If the budget isn't enough, how do we find additional funding? If no one applies, then what does it say about the city? You know what I mean? So the RFP is being rewritten. I think we actually have a tighter timeline than March for it to be reissued. I think we were looking at early February for it to be reissued. Because again, we have to spend this money.
Yeah, I think the newspaper said March, but
We've asked for.
changed that a little bit.
for-
Commissioner Pipkins?
I guess my question is, what is it that you're looking for from the community to get this moving along? Like, I hear because it sounds like it has to start in Ann Arbor. Like, the county is a great idea, but
Yeah.
realistically, it has to start here first.
Right.
And then try to figure out how we can bring it about amongst the county. So how do we solve the problem of it starting, like,
Here.
what needs to be done to move it along?
So this is where the next test is when the RFP is reissued, what kind of response we'll get. If the only applicant applies again, if the RFP has been adjusted to if we're clearer on what we're asking of the community, we, the city, have been clearer and more specific on what we need. I think the city and attorneys thought we were very clear, but that's probably not the case. So that's when we'll find out who responds to the RFP once that's reissued.
Okay. And that's when you notify is sent out on different social networks, on the city website? Like, how are you guys getting the word out to people or to organizations?
That's a really
to
good
apply?
question. So Councilmember Harrison really pushed for us to think a little bit more creatively and then just putting it on the website and just putting it on the website.
Yeah.
And then we can't ask for specifics. So we did ask the city administration to be more creative on its outreach.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, and hopefully.
I do want to thank folks for pushing us on this, and I'm sorry for the upset that it's caused in the community and the disappointments folks have felt, because it's been a long ride from when this was a resolution saying unarmed crisis response is necessary. And then we went through community engagement, and we spent money with a consultant to do community engagement. And then we did community engagement again because it was like federal funding. So we've talked a lot about this. And I know people in community are like, why are we still talking about it? It's a good question. It's a really good question. And I'm sorry if I haven't answered things well. We did have a closed session on a meeting with our attorneys. The city council members had a closed session. And for folks who are unaware, I think they assumed it was like a break and that we were like voting privately without the public. We're not allowed to vote in closed session. So it was meeting with our attorneys, and we can't disclose what we discuss. So I know there's been like demand, I think there was like some assumption that there's been private conversations about the RFP process. The city council members are allowed to meet with our attorneys. I mean, we have to be advised about the city's liabilities, but that's normal part of city business. Yeah, it's not meant to undermine anyone or anything.
So I think it's clear, to council that ICPOC does fully support the unarmed response project team, or whatever it's going to be called. That is, in fact, one of our recommendations from our annual report. So thank you. Okay, we're going to move on. I did send, I'm not there yet. I did send out copies of the executive summary. You may have heard that the Justice Department came out with a report about the police response to the shooting at the elementary school in Uvalde, Texas. Are you all getting my emails? Yeah. Okay. And, take a look at that. I thought it was interesting. We had a school shooting in Oxford, and we had a school shooting at Michigan State, and it certainly isn't beyond comprehension that we could have that kind of thing here in Ann Arbor. And we want to make sure that if it happens, we are prepared. And I think looking at what the Department of Justice said the Uvalde police did wrong might give us some things to think about and some questions to ask. So if you get a chance, take a look at that, and please share any thoughts that you have. Also, the Michigan State Police issued another report. They did another study as to whether the troopers were biased. Okay, that's basically what it was. And what I thought was interesting, and I don't know if after our new ordinance here, because I don't think we're looking at it, one of the things that they found is that racial disparities were less at night, where the trooper couldn't see the person in the car. I thought it's just interesting. You read these studies and say, so if they can't see, then the disparity goes down, which sort of does say maybe there is something, to the issue. Another thing that I thought was interesting from that report is that the troopers' response was that they felt they were being picked on. They felt people were looking at them as racists. And I thought that was, interesting. I don't know, how our officers feel after the studies, the traffic studies that we've done. But again, it's interesting. Speaking of officers, we have 5 new police officers for the city of Ann Arbor. And I think that brought it to a total of 108, and we're authorized for 122. We need more officers. We need officers to do community policing, so the folks in the community know the officer and the officer knows the community. So I thought that was a good thing. Another one of our recommendations that I'm going to be sending out is that we try to have the police department set up a relationship with the Ann Arbor Public Schools. And it went bad. It went south. I'm not sure if there was any particular incident, but perhaps after one of the shootings, murders, we are no longer in the public schools, not for the Explorer program, not for Career Day, and we want to grow our officers from within. It would be nice to have police officers who know the city of Ann Arbor. Commissioner Green?
There was at some point, I know there was a relationship at some point between the Ann Arbor Public Schools and the police department, because there were actual officers that were stationed at particular schools. So I know that relationship did exist.
It did.
I don't know when it ended, but I don't know why it ended, but.
I think after George Floyd, I think that was sort of the impetus, and I don't know if we'll ever get back to the officers stationed in the schools. That was really a sticking point that the community citizens did not like.
Really?
Yeah, they did not like that. But but to have the Explorer program, something like that, where to involve the young people, and possibly get them to, when they graduate, go over to the academy program at Washington Community College, and just sort of, that way build up. We want community policing, so if we could bring up police from the community, that would, I think, be a good thing. So, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I know since my kids have gone through and one has graduated at Arbor Public Schools, they've never had an officer in the school, so at least in the past 12 years, I don't remember, so this predates George Floyd. And I know
Okay.
that when, a couple years ago, a couple of the school board candidates actually ran in response to their uneasiness around how our police were trying to engage local youth at events. I mean, there was a pretty public outcry over it. They were just not, it was not just uncomfortable, it was, they felt it was unnecessary I think it was something like meet the police at the park or something, and it was seen as being very overt and inappropriate.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, I don't know where the rift came about. I do know when my children were in Ann Arbor Public Schools, they had police in the schools. So, well, anyway, and I had lunch with a member of the school board not long ago, and to bring this subject up, and it was suggested to me that we at least wait until the new superintendent is in, and and gets his or her feet wet, and so, but that's something that it's out there that we might want to deal with. Finally, when we had the interviews for the new police chief, there was a reporter here from the Ground Cover. That's the paper that folks sell for $2. And I talked to her afterwards, and she gave me her card, and she gave me the name of their publisher. And I said, maybe, we're talking about a newsletter, maybe we can get a column in there. Maybe that's a way to get some information out about ICPOC and what we do. So I just want to pass this down to the Community Outreach Committee. And that's the reporter's name, and she wrote the publisher. If it's something you all think is valuable, if not, that was a $2 paper, so it's okay. Huh? No, I'll do that. You can have the $2. Okay, I don't have anything further. I've probably talked long enough on a bad weather night, so let's move on. There's any old business? Any new business?
Maybe it's old business. It's Trulio, last fall, was it last fall? Or I can't remember the timeline exactly, but there's a press release that Ann Arbor Police has signed a contract with Trulio, which is a...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
The
it's
facial recognition thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you want to put this on your
No,
update?
not
Yeah, is that
facial
part of?
recognition.
Yeah,
Okay, do you want
you
to
can
wait for that?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm sorry?
It's not facial recognition.
Well, it's
speech.
it's AI kind of thing.
It's AI. What they do is basically they take the videos and they transcribe them in a way that would not identify any. There's nothing that would identify any members of the community. All what they do is basically more of quality control of the police department members. So the other thing is why this software became a little bit popular, and many police departments are using that, is the fact that 95% of the camera-borne videos are not being reviewed. So if there is no demand on those ones, they would be deleted because it's costly to save those ones for a long time. But you can save the transcript of the videos as a text, and that would take less time. Plus, you can follow the behavior of individual officers. over time. So it's not, yes, it's an AI, but it's not, you look at it and you say, oh yeah, this is the person or that person. It's not being used for the purpose of identification.
Okay.
And it's just the other day, I think,
Okay.
and just the other day, the sheriff, county sheriff department, they are going to be using that.
it? Okay.
So,
We're going to talk about it again when
I
we
think-
get to the report. You know, the videos, that's interesting. Those of us who are dealing with information managers, watching those videos, it takes some time. And I don't, we can talk about it, but I don't know if AI reviewing the videos or whatever they do is the same as, or even reading a transcript of what was said doesn't necessarily give the flavor of what was going on at the time. But, okay, we're going to get back, we're going to circle back to that. Okay, we're going to go to reports from committees. The Policy Committee, do y'all have anything?
No.
Okay, no report at this time. Training Committee, I think both of the Training Committee members are out today. I know that we have a training video that we're reviewing to see if it has any value that the Sheriff's Department had used, and we'll talk about that after they both have had a chance to deal with it. Outreach Committee.
Yeah, we didn't have anything huge to report. Still working on the write-up for the research study about, the bias with traffic stops, and I got to finish that, and then planning to meet the chief, which I think would be really fun. And yeah, that's about it for now.
Okay, very good, thank you. Information managers?
Yeah, I think, after a few years, we are still in progress. The work is in progress.
Yeah.
And what we need is basically to have all the information in one area with all the links needed to review the complaints. And we are working with the police department, hopefully with the IT and city, and to come up with some kind of a platform where it's easy to use, and we don't have to reinvent the wheel every time we have changes. So everything will be in one place. The other thing is we'd like to have is, as part of our resource, is to have folders for the complaints per year. And over there also will have the reports for those cases. So anyone can go back and look at those cases and look at the reports that we generated. And again, this is a work in progress. The other thing is the Deputy Chief Forsberg has sent us some folders for the 2023 complaints. And I think he sent us about 17, and there are only 6 of those were containing material that we can use. I went through those ones. I will probably have that done within a couple of weeks to have those things in place. So it's again, work in progress, and we'll work on the recommendations. I sent the chair a few recommendations from just looking at reviewing the different complaints, that you really come up with some ideas of recommendations, and those recommendations were based on cases. It's not like I'm just writing just because I like to write. It's based on why we recommend this, because there were complaints about those. And I will leave it to the chair to do whatever is needed. I think we'll have just talk about it a little bit early, to courtesy to convey or to send those to the police department as well as the administrator. Again, these recommendations can be taken, adopted, can be changed, or rejected, because this is how our ordinance is describing our role as a commission. Thank you.
Thank you, and Commissioner Hoffman is correct. We are an advisory commission, basically, and so nobody has to pay any attention to what we recommend. But yet and still, I think our recommendations mean a lot. I think it's important for everyone to understand really what goes into reviewing these complaints. When a complaint comes in, we review the entire complaint, all the police, everything that comes from the police department. And we cannot do anything until the police department has finished their investigation. And then there's the body-worn camera. And if you've got a couple of police officers out there, then you're looking at, could be a couple hours of video. So we are catching up. And it's my understanding that we haven't had any complaints come in for 2023. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, wrong year. For 2024, we have not had any complaints come in. So that's a good thing, and we'll try to keep up rather than continuing to catch up.
Yeah, just a number. Over the past 4 years, we received about 100 complaints. So on the average, about 25 per year. But sometimes one year is probably 30, the other one is like 20, 23 is 17. But on the average, it's about 20, 25 complaints per year. And
Per year.
I would say the majority is basically the type of interaction, the impression that the citizen is having due to the interaction with the police.
Okay, any questions about any of the reports that we've heard?
I don't think this complaint has been submitted, but I've been hearing from university students and some professors that there was some, I guess, video about our police interacting with protesters at the Ruth Bend Administrator Building last fall, which conflicts with what we've heard from our police and our city administrator, and that our police were on standby in support of campus police, but did not interact or intervene with protesters. But we're hearing different things. I know there are a lot of police from throughout the county, and then, University of Michigan police were there. There could have been some confusion on who interacted with the students and the protesters, but there's enough noise that I've encouraged folks, if that's something that really happened, to come and submit a complaint to ICPOC. But that is something that's circulating in community.
Okay, well, we have to have a complaint.
Right.
And for the public, anyway, if you want to come here at one of our meetings and make a complaint, or the complaint can be made by email or a telephone call or whatever, we stand ready to take complaints and deal with them. And this is interesting, because one of our recommendations, there was at least one incident that Commissioner Hoffman reviewed. The police officers, our police officers, just happened to be out, and someone made a complaint, but they didn't have on their body-worn cameras. One of our recommendations is going to be that every time an officer is out on the street dealing with the public, they have on the camera, so that we don't have a situation where somebody says, well, the Ann Arbor police did such and such, and there's other police out there, and nobody has any record of what actually happened. So that is, and it's probably going to be a costly one, because I don't think there's money, we'll find out. I don't think there's money for cameras for every time an officer's on the street, but that makes sense to us. That's one of our recommendations in our report. Okay, so we're, Yeah. So now we're at our city council update. Councilwoman Song, if you have anything further.
Sure. Circling back to Trulio, this was a discussion that Councilmember Harrison and I had with our previous interim chief, Amy Metzer. So I think it was the week upon her leaving for her position at the university, where it was announced, we caught it on in press that we had contracted with Trulio. Councilmember Harrison and I just expressed our reticence around this because this didn't go to council review because the contract limit did not come up to council review. It's less than 25, I think it's less than 25,000. But our concern was that, as we talk about facial recognition, as we talk about technology use in policing, there's some privacy concerns, there's privacy of the data that's collected, the kind of data that could be not just limited to police and public interaction, it could be like other conversations could be captured. We just want to understand the technology more and how it would be used within Ann Arbor. And the response that Interim Chief Metzer gave at the time was that she heard our concerns. She was also concerned, and she would pause the program. And in the update with, we had a Councilmember Watson and I had a meeting with our current interim chief and Patrick. I can't remember his last name. McGuire, yes. Last week, and he said that the concern was taken seriously within the department, so much so that it was never implemented. Officers were not trained to use it, and IT actually severed the connection between the software company and Ann Arbor. So, meaning that they've put it on pause for additional review by our incoming chief. So, the conversation is moving.
Okay.
So there'll be another review on it.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I do think there is cause for concern. And I know folks are really excited about it because the idea that the company has pitched that is that it makes reviewing transcripts more efficient. But I kind of feel like if we're pushing for community-based policing, I'd rather have the community review it. And if there's concerns about capacity to do that, then we increase capacity. Human eyes, human ears, human review, community review, I think provides significantly better outcomes. But I could be wrong. But, hopefully that our incoming chief can speak to this more.
Well, personally, I don't think you're wrong about it, and it does take a long time. But I think it's worth it. And, again, I have said before that we're behind on our review. And as Commissioner Hoffman stated, we're trying to set up a system so that it's easier, because most of we're all volunteers, So if we can make the process of complaint review simpler, so we're not going here to look at this and here to look at that, and it's all right there for us, that'll I don't think we need a computer or AI or whatever to do it for us, and I don't know anything about how it would work, so maybe you will fill us in later as you learn about what supposedly that will do. I don't think it can do it any better than Commissioner Hoffman can do it. That's just my opinion.
We could use 2 more Commissioner Hoffman, but.
Well, my term ends in end of May.
I think we're willing to clone commissioners, but not use the software.
Yeah, just
Commissioner Green.
Pardon my ignorance, but are there clear guidelines as to what we're looking for when we actually do these reviews?
And
Because
that's
we
why
probably need some.
That's why I was going to try and get you to join us, because like myself, you've probably been reviewing police reports for decades.
Well, I have,
I know.
and I look for certain things.
Right. Well, we have a complaint. You'll have a citizen who says, I'm complaining because I believe the officer did such and such and such to me. And so when we review, that is what we are looking for, whether that was actually done and whether that violates some law or policy or other directive. So it's hard to say you look for A, B, and C because it's all dependent on what the complaint is.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
The other thing is sometimes we look at certain words in the video because these are the allegations. And sometimes we forgot that within the video itself, there's something being said, but went unnoticed. But it's important. It's like there are two incidents, which I'm not going to dwell on, where an officer used an example of something, and it's not the example was wrong, but the place for that example was wrong. The place for it was wrong.
It was
So which means that if
inappropriate.
it was inappropriate, but it was right. It was right. So in this case, the officer needs to be aware of when you say something like that in a video. We're not just focusing on what we see as allegations or the interactions or nature of the interactions. We are looking at certain things. Or you just go and throw, well, this guy is a tall guy. Or this one is whatever. So you inject something into the conversation that is a little bit off what we are looking for, but it's also important that we take into account.
I see.
So we try to be objective. It's not. I see that sometimes the police officers are being subjected to verbal abuse. Really, and we see that. But the officer is not complaining. The citizen is complaining about the police. So we focus on what the citizen is saying about these allegations and whether or not the video is supporting those allegations. And we try to be extremely objective in this case.
And what else I think AI could not tell us, you're going to find when we look at our report that a large number, and I'm not yet ready to say what percentage, a large percentage of our complaints have to do with rudeness, and just, they didn't talk to me like they should have. And, the Bible said the power of life and death is in the tongue. And when you start talking to somebody like they don't matter, and it doesn't happen all the time, but people feel that. And so that's going to be part of our recommendations as well, that we have further training on being polite to people, dealing with people the way you would want to be dealt with. A lot of our complaints have to do with that. So, anyway,
Okay.
feel free to let me know you want to join us.
Well, sure. I mean, the only reason that I talk about the clear guidelines is because there is objectionable behavior,
Yeah,
and then there is improper or illegal behavior.
yeah,
And even though something may be objectionable, it may be well within the bounds of the officer's responsibility and duty.
right,
Even if it's objectionable.
right,
Even if
True.
you didn't talk to me with the right tone or,
true.
yeah.
And that's why some of our complaint reviews will say, we agree with the department that the officer, was exonerated of this wrongdoing. However, perhaps a letter from the department saying, we're sorry for your inconvenience. Something, I mean, so, yeah, we can deal with that. That, it wasn't illegal, and it maybe wasn't even improper, and I think that's where we come in terms of what we can add to the whole process.
Okay.
Okay? All right, thank you. What's do we have any? No. We have no communications today? All right, is there anything else that anybody needs to talk about this evening? If not, we have gotten out of here in a little more than an hour, and I appreciate it, and I know you do too. Does anybody want to move to adjourn the meeting?
I move to adjourn the meeting.
And is there a second?
Second.
Before I say all in favor, please read all my emails and give me some response. Okay, thank you very much. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.